Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tiffany Benson, one part of Team Benson, and we have a ton of new subscribers. So I would like to say welcome to all of our new subscribers. For those of you guys that don't know, I grow a small space garden in the middle of the Arizona desert in the middle of the city. So it's a urban desert small space garden. And I try and grow as much as I possibly can because I want to have 100% of our produce come from my tiny garden, and I'm doing pretty good at that. So I want to let you guys know that we will be having our next giveaway, which was when we'll hit 1,000 subscribers, because that'll be our next big milestone and it'll be our biggest giveaway. So I will be going into more details as we get closer, but make sure you guys subscribe so that you don't miss out on that giveaway. So let's go take a look at what my garden's looking like. So guys, this video is going to be more so about just a couple different things that I'm doing for the summer for my garden. So I'm going to take you guys through and just give you a couple of tips of what you can do for your summer garden to make sure that it is going 100%. I haven't had a video up in the last week. For those of you guys that don't know, I am actually somewhat allergic to the sun. So when the temperatures first change and they go really, really hot, I have a horrible allergic reaction. So I get welts all over my face and all over just everywhere, and I get really, really tired. So I spend a lot of time inside and just putting rose water on my skin. If you guys haven't seen my rose water video, then you should check it out. I will link it down below, and maybe it's something that can help you if you guys have the same issues and problems with the sun. Which is funny, you would think I would live in a place different than Arizona, but I love my desert. So I'm really excited because 800 subscribers, guys, that's a lot. That's a lot of people watching me garden. That's so exciting. So I'm going to show you guys my garden right now and how it looks completely under shade cloth. Like when I say I completely covered it, I completely covered it. And then I'm going to peel it all back because I have to water, and show you guys just a couple things that I'm doing for the summer. So this is the first thing, covering my entire backyard with shade cloth. I got a 50% coverage shade cloth that I just kind of literally blanketed my entire little small backyard, because I am not playing this year. This year I will grow tons of vegetables and not have them burned up. Now this side, there's some shade cloth over there on that bed, but this side's also protected by a big giant umbrella. So this side does need a little bit more sun, but I have big plans for this bed that we'll talk about in a little bit. Alright, so the shade cloth is back. The sun is super bright, but now I get to come sit in my favorite spot in my garden and just kind of look around, which I'll give you guys a little quick view. Oh, so pretty. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to dig some holes and put in some food scraps. That was supposed to come out way more revolutionary, but it did not. So as you guys know, I have been using a worm compost bin, and in my worm compost bin, it's an in-ground worm compost bin, and I've been basically feeding a lot of composting worms. Well, the composting worms have really been doing great things for one side of my bed. They've been doing things for the whole, like great things for the whole bed, but there's one side that is growing just ridiculously well. I'll show you guys it now. So this is my composting bin, which I E6000 a little handle on it, and as you guys can see, there is so much like wildlife and things crawling up in there. It's kind of creepy, but the pill bugs are everywhere, and there's worms, composting worms, deep down inside there too as well. And I've just been adding and adding to this. I've stopped adding to it for right now, and it's just been composting down. So this soil is really, really rich. And I also water it too, guys. Well, that has led to this side of the bed just being ridiculously fertile. Like, look at these nice, beautiful squashes. Like, this is just producing so much. I have little babies everywhere. I have flowers everywhere. The cucumbers have little baby cucumbers on them. They're growing ridiculously fast. Like, it's already, you know, getting a big head start compared to the other cucumber plants. And my okra is already producing. So normally my okra takes a little bit longer to produce, but it's already producing okra. So this is really kind of cool that just this side of the bed, and this side of the bed isn't doing bad either, but I mean, it's not producing as much as the other side. So there's definitely a huge difference in what that worm composting bin is doing. Okay guys, I got out of the sun. But there's definitely a difference in what that worm composting bin is doing for that side of my garden. Now I want to kind of replicate that in other places of my garden that I possibly can do that with, but I don't want to use up the space for having another worm composting bin, because it does take up a little chunk of your garden that you can't plant things in. As you guys can see, it was thriving with composting insects, and I don't want, and they like the dark too as well, so you can't have it just kind of open up and have them compost everything that quickly. But what you can do is dig a big giant hole, like as deep as you possibly can get it in your garden bed, and you can put in composting materials. So I have been collecting a little baggie of, there's a banana in here, there's some skins from onions and garlic, and there are potato peels, which if you bury potato peels in your garden, they will sprout. Just an FYI. I have potato little sprouts everywhere that I didn't realize that would happen, but it did, so just note that. I probably will, I mean, it's too late to kind of take a lot of these potato peels out, so I probably will just go ahead and compost them down and just pick them out as they come. But yeah, if you don't want potatoes all over your garden, be a little bit careful about burying just straight potato peels. Probably next time I'll blend them. And then the other thing I'm going to drop in there are, I have 2 eggs that I get farm eggs from one of our local farmers, or from the AZ Worm Farm. And 2 of the eggs in there looked a little bit wonky. They're probably just dirty, but yeah, they're kind of gross. So I'm going to use those eggs to bury into my composting area. Now, I picked a spot in my garden where I'm not going to be planting anything right on top of it, and it's also close to tomatoes. So tomatoes have really forgiving everything. If you're wanting to compost something next to something, I would do it closer to a tomato. Still dig down to where it's deeper than anything you can, and try and get it a little bit away from it so it's not so many bugs on everything. But tomatoes are heavy feeders, so that compost and the worms and the pill bugs and all that getting in there and just kind of really going through and tearing up stuff and creating more compost is going to do great things for your tomato plant. So where I'm going to put it is, there is a space where I'm going to be transplanting my eggplant to for the fall. So I'm going to dig a hole right there where that empty space is, and then kind of throw all this stuff in there and let it compost all summer long. And then I'm going to transplant that eggplant probably around end of August, early September. Okay, so this is that spot I was talking about. As you can see, there's a tomato plant right there that could use some extra nutrients, so this is actually going to help them. And then my scarlet runner beans, which are not pretty much liking life, they're getting a little bit better now with the shade cloth, but they had a rough go at life. So you don't drop everything in there. I was really excited because, as you guys can see, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little bit of creepy crawlers. There's worms, there's pill bugs over here, because this side I've been kind of building, which you can see the soil is really kind of dark. So what I'm going to do is, I dropped just a piece of the banana peel, a little bit of the coffee filter with some coffees, a couple of potato skins, and 1 egg. And I'm going to crack the egg in here so that it'll help kind of break it up and kind of draw everything to it. And then I'm just going to bury it. Look at that, guys. A little wormy right there. And I'm just going to bury it as deeply as I can. I'm also going to add a scoop of compost, fresh compost, in here too as well. Alright, so I'm gonna go get a scoop of compost, which now I finally got buckets to where I can get compost by the bucketful, and you can kind of scoop them and do it yourself. So now I just have buckets of compost. And I'm just gonna get about that much. Now I added compost to that bed, which is probably why the worms are there, and they are kind of doing a really, really great job. So I'm excited for this side of the bed to really start getting some love and grow in there. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that compost down on there, and that's just to kind of help bury it with some extra nutrients. So now it's completely buried back up, and it is now secretly providing me amazing great soil and feeding the composting worms and making sure they're going from that side all the way over there, all the way through this bed, all the way to this side. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get some spaces where I can add a couple of things and make sure that they're moving all around. I'm also going to do it probably right here too as well, which is a little bit in the middle of the bed, either there or back over there, so that they can have food along the way. So the other bed I'm gonna do it in is this space right here. And I pulled up the garlic, guys. Garlic it did not work. So I pulled all that garlic up, and I've been kind of adding a couple of things here. As you can see, we got some potatoes. Don't bury potato skins. You see this? Buried potato skin equals potato plant. I do not want to grow potatoes in this bed, so I'm gonna have to keep pulling those up. But I'm going to add a little bit of composting stuff right there too as well. So you might ask, why did my garlic not work? And I actually have it here. I saved it for you guys so that you guys can see it. This is my garlic, and it has the smallest little bulbs like that. So it's not like it didn't grow garlic, it just didn't grow garlic that I want to use. And I think where I went wrong is that I did not use seed garlic. I wanted to see if I could plant garlic that was going to be from a grocery store and see if that works. I watched a hack on YouTube and I was like, oh, I could do that. Well, the problem is that when you don't have, especially organic garlic or seed garlic, it's sprayed with something to keep it from sprouting. So when I planted it, it instantly sprouted because it was really, really hot outside. For some reason, we went through another heat wave. And then it monsooned and got a bunch of water, and it just kind of grew in so super wonky. And I think that spray of whatever that they sprayed on it kept it from really kind of producing, and it just didn't work out. So I am going to try garlic again when it's time to plant garlic in the fall, but this time I'm going to order seed garlic and plant it, and I will show you guys how that turns out. I just want to show you guys real quickly just how rich this soil is in this bed. Now, I added compost originally to this bed, and then I added a couple of worms, and I've just been feeding them in the same exact spot. So I'm going to get another scoop of compost, put that on top of there, but this has created just the healthiest spot in this bed. So I'm excited for what I'm going to grow in here. So just a side note, I am going to grow something pretty big in this bed. Like, it's actually going to be really big. So if you guys notice that I'm not replanting a lot of things, like when I took out the garlic, or I'm letting the collards kind of go, which I'm going to pull those up today and kind of bury those down in there too as well so they can compost. And the beans, I'm just pulling the beans and not planting anything there else. So there's something you can grow in Arizona that if you plant it by June 15th, you'll have it by the end of October. So if you guys want to guess what I'm planting, put it down below and I will tell you guys within the next couple of videos when it actually gets planted into my garden. So I have gotten a ton of questions about my composting bin, which I'm gonna do another complete video on, like, the second stages of my composting bin and kind of what I'm doing with it, because right now I'm kind of in that second stage where I'm trying to let it really compost down, so that's actually going to be a lot of my fertilizer that I'm going to use for the fall. So I will do a complete second video about that. But the one thing that I did want to point out are the type of worms, because I know a lot of you guys are trying to start your composting bin. So I want to make sure that you get the right worms. You want to have composting worms. Red wigglers are composting worms. I get mine at the AZ Worm Farm. If you guys are in AZ, you can get them at the AZ Worm Farm. If not, you can actually order them online. I'll leave a link down below to their website, and they can ship them to you, or you can order them on Amazon. I'll find them on Amazon too and put that down in the description below so that you guys can find those too as well. But you don't want to get worms from PetSmart. I've done that before, and I've had a lot of people ask me. Those worms will instantly die or disappear. I don't know what happened to them, but they'll instantly die and disappear. And they're not really, no. They might work for somewhere else, like out in like the south or like up north, but here in Arizona where it gets to be 110 degrees, earthworms, like regular earthworms from like Tennessee, are like, no, what are you doing? Why am I in your dirt? So do not use those. The red wigglers will survive a lot of this really hot heat as long as you have a space where they're covered, or if you have up your shade cloth and you're constantly feeding them. So you want to be able to put those food scraps into your composting bin or just bury them into your garden really, really deep, because those worms like to eat. They like to compost things and they like to eat, and they'll fertilize your garden really, really well. But red wigglers are the ones that I recommend. So I have two more things I want to talk about. The next thing I'm going to talk about is what I'm doing with my cucumber plants. Now, for those of you guys that have been watching my channel, you know that we are an affiliate of Mighty Crop, which I'm very excited about. So this has been a system that I was kind of wondering about to see if it was going to work, and it is actually doing really, really well for my garden and my cucumber plants. So I will leave a link down below because you guys can use our code Team Benson and get 10% off if you want to order your Mighty Crop system. And I know a couple of you guys have told me that you are ordering yours, so I'm excited to see how you guys' plants do as well and what you grow on them, because apparently everybody's been growing tomatoes. I think I'm like the only one that's like, I'm gonna grow a cucumber and see what happens. But with my cucumber plants, I am taking off a lot of those bottom leaves. So cucumbers hate being moist for a long period of time. So they hate humidity and they hate being drowned in water. But they grow leaves at the very base where they're going to be drowned in water. And then they have all their flowers at the very base that are hidden by all those leaves. So what I do is I take off all those bottom leaves and then start making sure that they're trellising up. Now I have two types of cucumber plants that I'm growing. I have a bush cucumber plant, which is very, very compact. So that one, it's harder to kind of take those bottom leaves off because it just wants to be close to the ground. And then I have Space Masters. So I'm going to show you both of them. So this is the one that I'm growing in my Mighty Crop, and this one's doing really well because it's growing straight. So the more you can give your cucumber support, the straighter it will be, and the easier it will be to be able to kind of work with it and make sure that it stays healthy. But as you can see, I took off all the bottom leaves, and look at this giant cluster of flowers. This is what attracts a lot of insects to your plant in order to pollinate them. And as you can see, I just have flowers going all up this cucumber plant, and it's starting to now send off side shoots to where I'm going to be able to trellis those in like these like little clips in the little spaces in the Mighty Crop. Now on this side, I have the same cucumber plant. This one is growing a lot faster because of this composting bin, but I've been having to really tie it up because it is So the second one that I'm growing is the bushed cucumbers, and these ones like to be in like a little bush basically. So I am going to, I've turned them back because they were growing this way, so I turned them back so that they're propped up against this trellis, and they'll probably grow maybe about here on this trellis. But as you can see, I can't prune the bottom leaves as much as I can the other ones because they don't have such a straighter stem. So I'm going to get just the smaller ones that I can, and as it grows, I will prune it as it grows. But for right now, it's doing pretty well, and I just really concentrate on watering at the base. So for those of you guys that are growing in other parts of the world or here in Arizona, we finally got some rain here in Arizona, and cucumber plants and squash plants do not like to get wet and be constantly wet and like just holding moisture. They like a lot of water, but they don't like their leaves to be wet. They will get a mold on them called a fungus mold, and it'll just, or powdery mildew is what it's called, and it's a fungus that kind of just glares and just destroys your plant. So you want to make sure that you are constantly kind of looking at your plants and making sure that they're pruned so that they're not getting that. Now, when I talk about pruning my cucumber plants, they have a solid like stem on them, on each one of the leaves, so I prune those. The one that I do not prune though, guys, is my squash plants. I only will prune those if something horribly goes wrong with them, and pruning is my absolute last option, because squash plants' stems of their leaves are hollow, which allows a lot of insects to get on the inside of the plant. We don't get a lot of squash borers here, I think is what they're called, but I know people in the south and stuff like that get them, where they get inside the plant and they just burrow in there and just destroy the whole entire plant and kill it in a matter of a day. We don't really get those, but there is a chance that we can get them, and there is other insects that can infect your squash plant. So by cutting them and giving that big gaping space will have basically like an entry point for those insects. So I'll show you guys what I do for my squash plant. So if we get down in here, you'll see that a squash plant will naturally prune itself. If this leaf is dying because it's just done, so it's drying up from the very tip of the leaf all the way down to the stem. So all I have to do is just leave it alone, and it will dry up to where it'll be like this one way over here, to where it just kind of closes itself to where then nothing then gets on the inside of the plant. Now if I were to cut that off down here, that will leave a big hole right here in the plant to where then something can get and then attack this inner side of the plant. So this very big stem here where the plant is getting all its nutrients from. So squash plants, just kind of let them do their own thing. So I hope you guys find that helpful. I am getting ready to water my garden and then put its covering back over top of it so it is ready for its 95-degree day. But until next time, don't forget to subscribe, because we are going to be giving away another giveaway when we hit 1,000 subscribers, which we're getting close, guys. We're now less than 200 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers, but we'll be having another big giveaway. This will be our biggest one because we'll be hitting 1,000, which is a huge milestone for us. But until next time, grow yourself a garden, because even a small space can provide you with tons of food. All right, bye guys.